but there will be several other events Thursday and Friday evening at the mall, Saturday on the Civic Centre ground, and a lot of city and other equipment will be on display, but we'll be coming to council for some participation later on, and the detailed minutes will be coming up on that next week. Saturday's Regional District Board meeting, the 3 readings were given to the security issuing bylaw concerning raising the funds for the paving that came up earlier tonight, Your Worship, and that goes on to the Municipal Finance Authority now. I think that's all at this time, Your Worship.
Are there any questions, Alderman Neville? Hearing none. Going around the table, Alderman Grill.
I have very little to report to Your Worship other than the fact that another vehicle is being painted, and that's the line truck. It's an 8-year-old vehicle, and it's in the process of being painted. As you know, we have very limited space for doing such operations, and we only limited to so many vehicles per year. That is one of the initial stages of a painted vehicle. I don't know whether we're going to paint any more this year, but that is definite. That's all I have to report. And I'll have an item, of course, later on.
Okay, we have a long in-committee agenda, so we'll hear from that. Any questions of Alderman Grill? Hearing none, Alderman Smithson.
No major problems with any of the utilities, Mr. Mayor. I've been working on suggestions and recommendations for some committees that I'm responsible for, and will be presenting them to aldermen for their consideration and hopefully resolution this evening and in close meetings. A couple of things, though, I think of interest, and I've received from Mr. Adams some information that I think is important and interesting, too. And what it is a water utility operating data survey or report on water usage. And because we have information, we're able to compare our own city's usage and costs with other information. And I'll just briefly do some of the comparisons of usage and cost. Usage, in other words, gallons per capita per day in the United States, 147 gallons, 114 in Canada average, and 197 in Nelson. So the interesting point here is that we use considerably more water per capita in our city than the average in Canada or the United States.
A lot cleaner.
We're a lot cleaner. I think that's what it means. Cost per 1,000 gallons and running across. Cost per 1,000 gallons again, $1.58 a gallon in the United States, $1.87 in Canada, 59 cents in Nelson. So we have an economical per gallon cost of operating our water system. Use per residence in gallons per year, and this is a very interesting statistic, 94,100 gallons, if you can imagine, use per residence in the United States, 73,000 average in Canada, 165,400 gallons in Nelson. This is in the year 1987. Cost per residence per year in the United States, $178, average in Canada, $132. Average cost per residence for Nelson in 1987 was $98. So we're the cleanest, and we pay the less to be clean. So that's some information I think is interesting to me, and it also indicates some of the benefits of our water system and another reason why we must protect it.
Before you go on, Alderman Smithson, maybe just a little discussion on that item. Can the Director of Works give us any insight into the high volume usage?
Well, I'd be pleased if he could.
Take more showers?
We don't break it up.
We are higher than...
Is it the inefficient delivery system, maybe the old pressure relief system?
No, that was based on our 1987 figures, which were reduced by 33%. So years prior to this, we were way higher, which of course was a result of the wastage in our system. But I think some of the reasons is that we've really never had a water shortage here, and people really think nothing of leaving their water sprinklers on for the weekend or for the week if the weather's dry, and letting it run. And a lot of cities, it's just not done.
Or you can't afford it.
Or you can't afford it, because you pay by the gallon you use, and here we pay a lump sum for a year and use what you can. Basically. I think that's basically what it is.
I think also you have to look at the city of Nelson. The city itself is so well kept up, all the private sectors. There are very few areas where the yards aren't beautifully kept. And the lawns and the gardens all look lovely. So I think it's a lot different here than, say, Vancouver and other areas where there can be water shortages. It's always green and pretty here.
I got 2 teenage daughters that probably contribute.
It's all hot water, too.
4 showers a day.
One other item, if I may, Mr. Mayor. So often in our jobs, we get the telephone calls, and all it is things aren't going right, and there's a lot of complaining. I'm pleased once in a while to hand out a bouquet, and I think the changing over from the previous system to our parking system as we have it now, in other words, under the auspices or supervision of city personnel, it is starting to pay some dividends. And I, the other day, got a letter back from a friend of mine in Vancouver. He got a parking ticket when he came to visit us. He sent a check from Vancouver when he got back. The city wrote him a letter. This is in response to your check in the amount of $3 recently received by your office. We're returning your check and further canceling the above noted traffic violation. We appreciate you doing business in Nelson. It's not our intention to inconvenience visitors to Nelson. Making the suggestion next time, please park in the parkade for 75 cents. And yours very truly, from the city accountant. And he writes back to me, Danny, thanks to all, I will visit again. This type of thing is you may think it's small, but people, he said to me, he said, that's the first time in all his traveling that somebody has taken the time to show that his visit was important. And he's a commercial traveler, so he travels a lot of places. And I just wanted to point out that some of the policies that have been implemented recently are paying off in the form of recognition without soliciting, the policy as we put in place. And I'd like to congratulate Ms. Marla Olson for the tone of her letter and the obvious reaction that it got from the receiver. That is all I have to report.
I appreciate it. Lloyd, do you think you could close the door for us there? Thanks. Alderman Heflin.
Yeah, I'd just like to follow that up with another pat on the back for Marla. I noticed, I think it was last summer, there was a tourist in a camper who got a ticket. And she and a couple of others were coming back from lunch and happened to notice this, chased the camper, pulled him over, took their ticket, and came back and made the camper feel better about the whole thing. So I think she's done a good job for the city and making sure that this type of thing doesn't happen, that people too who are visiting the city should feel welcome and not be angry at us because they get a ticket. Now, if we can just find some way to fix the ticket my husband got in Rossland today, I'm sure he'd be very happy. There's our $5, by the way, not $3 like ours are.
Terrible.
High place.
Going around the table then, any questions of Alderman Smithson? If there's not, then Alderman Ramsden.
Your Worship, the city is still ongoing cleaning the streets, and the big machine is out washing. One thing I'd like to say that 2 weeks ago we asked for approval to apply for a federal government grant to do work at the Civic Center, and I'm pleased to let you know it's been approved, and Mr. Adams has all the details, but we'll provide a return of five city employees to work on a temporary job at the Civic Center, and I'd leave it up to Bob to give the details, but it's approved and they start very soon.
Yes, Your Worship, they approved the application basically exactly the way we had submitted it. The total cost of the project was $100,044. Their grant will be for $28,857, and it's to put 5 employees back to work for 12-week duration or 60 work weeks.
Terrific. And can you just give us a summary of the work to be done at the arena?
Yes, it's for 3 separate projects. One is I've got it right here somewhere. Or maybe I'll have to tell you off the top of my head. No, here it is. One is what we call the acoustical treatment in both the arena and the badminton hall for $44,600. The second one is for some judges and viewing areas in the Civic Center arena for $35,000, and the third section was to paint the exterior of the Civic Center building for $19,500.
And those are with the winter games in mind.
Yes, and well, that and plus these are items that we really do need to in the building, keep the building running as efficiently as it can.
Good. Well, it's a terrific project. Good news to get the money.
It puts them back to work and receive their UI plus a top-up from the city.
And they get, in other words, they get reinstated at full regular pay,
Right.
but at
The
a
city isn't
substantial
paying that
saving.
cost, yes.
Excellent.
Thanks for that report, Alderman Ramsden. Any other items or questions of Alderman Ramsden? If not, then Alderman Heflin.
Nothing to report this week at all.
Okay, hearing no questions of you, then I'll have my own report. Housekeeping, the movie, of course, opened at the Civic Theatre on Saturday, and I was privileged to be invited to introduce the show and introduce the 4 girls who played the children in the movie. For those of you who haven't seen it, of course, it's like watching a home movie because there's so many people you know. I just tonight attended the Gyro Old Timers event at the Lord Nelson, and there were 3 movie stars in there. So there's lots of local people in it, and I can encourage you to go see it. It's real fun. I wanted to mention to you that the Creme TV item on Nelson appeared, of course, and I've had the cable television company tape that on a master, and we're going to add that to the city video that contains Pacific Report and a few other things. So we can run that, and I have obtained leave from Creme TV that we can use it for promotional purposes. So when you're attending the Lifestyles Fair or something, we can have that type of thing showing on the TV screen. Staying on the topic of movies and publicity, I mentioned to a few aldermen that I was trying to accomplish obtaining from Columbia Pictures copies of Roxanne on video, either dubbed in or subtitled in Japanese. And I'm pleased to say that the buttering up I did with them, because I sent them some posters and pins and a few knickknacks and pled our case about how we have our sister city council from Japan coming, and the Japanese kids would like to see Roxanne and they don't speak English well. Columbia Pictures has come through, and they've told me that they will send us 3 video copies of Roxanne. They are using subtitles. They don't do dubbing anymore because people can't seem to get the voices in sync. Steve Martin speaking Japanese just doesn't seem to fit. So we will try to include that in with the reception events for our sister city council. Then they can watch the movie and we can enjoy it in English, and they can chuckle along in Japanese, which is nice. You probably know that today is the first day that the Capitol Theatre is up and operating. It's not officially open, but it is in use. I dropped by today, and for any alderman who hasn't dropped in, do while Music Fest is in progress. It's quite impressive. The seats are beautiful, the drapery is nice, the walls, ceiling look lovely. That's going to go for a couple of weeks, and then of course the workers come back and they do the completion work leading up to the April 17th grand opening, which I'm sure you all have penciled in. But it really is impressive, and it's nice to see it in use. I thought I'd let you know that tomorrow, as council is aware, of course, I'm going to Dawson Creek for the Winter Games to be well informed on the ceremonial aspects of games for our own games next year. But I've added in some business on behalf of the city. I'll be meeting tomorrow with the developers of the Water's Edge Marina and Commercial Complex, and I just thought I'd mention that the gentlemen involved in that project are reassuring the community that it doesn't matter what rumors you hear, that project is on track and they intend to proceed. They're only fine-tuning. The only questions are how much and where to put it and how to do it. But let me reassure you that that project is a go for this year, and I'll discuss some details with them tomorrow about who's going to pay for what. And the last thing, I just wanted council to, if you could, Alderman, double check your date books and make sure that on the weekend of March 25th through 27th, realize that the Lifestyles Fair is on. The city has contracted for a small booth. We will have our usual hospitality arrangement there with some coffee and donuts. We'll have a TV, we'll show our promotional videos and such. And I know Mr. Mastrobono in the audience is bringing in the Italian ambassador that weekend. So there are many activities. There's also a couple of other things going on. So we're going to need all of us to put in a few hours. So if you could look at your calendar for that weekend and perhaps pencil in a little slot for yourself, and I'll be in touch with all of you about coordinating it so that we make sure that people can come in, have a cup of coffee, and talk to an alderman, ask questions, discuss city issues. That's it for my report, Council, and that's it for the regular public agenda. If there's no other business...
Could I just comment, Your Worship?
Please.
The housekeeping movie, I haven't been to see it yet, but just before 5 o'clock I happened to turn on CBC, the provincial radio, and a man called Bill Richardson, a reporter from Vancouver, he played a little recording of your opening remarks. He interviewed some of the local people after the show. We couldn't have paid for a better little promotion thing. He was very complimentary about Nelson, about the people, about the movie, about the real good real estate bargains, and you couldn't have heard a better promotion if we paid for it. It was just terrific.
That's great. I didn't know they were in town.
No, I didn't. I just happened to hear it just before the 5 o'clock news.
So they had somebody here in town on Saturday evening?
Yes. A man called Bill Richardson.
Terrific. The good news keeps flowing. I know the afternoon program this evening, just a few hours ago, in fact, did an interview with Tom Babbitt representing CIC. And they were talking to me this afternoon about how the community will be welcoming the Japanese students and what we're doing to accommodate them. So that also must have made the air about 5:30 today. I didn't catch it myself.
No, it was on the 8 a.m. CBC National News.
Oh,
CIC
this morning?
Coming to Nelson.
That's right.
That's additional. Probably the afternoon program followed up on that news announcement. That's terrific. So there's 3 in one day that we've heard about. Amazing. And the investment is flowing. If we're just discussing this for a moment, I can tell you that I today bumped into 2 investors literally walking the streets picking up buildings in town. So there's activity, economic activity. It's good to see. If there's no other business, Council, a motion to adjourn into Committee of the Whole. Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Carried and adjourned.